This morning, there's a new push to save young lives. New PSAs offering support to children who may be considering suicide.
Jennifer Leslie's here with the numbers behind this. And Jennifer, I know this is a follow-up to a series that you had on 11 Alive some months ago.
Yeah, hope over suicide. It is so important. These new numbers, these new PSAs, coming from law enforcement and health experts who make up what's known as the Georgia Child Fatality Review Panel. And they found that 144 young people in our state have committed suicide over the last 3 years. What's more, national statistics show that for every young person who dies, 25 others will try to take their own lives. And if you do the math, that means about 3,600 children attempted suicide during those same 3 years. Those are the numbers behind the new public service announcements that feature survivors. They are sharing their stories to offer hope and help.
I've struggled with depression since I can remember.
I just felt like I was just falling and falling.
I told her I didn't want to live anymore.
I thought it would be better just to end it.
I tried to kill myself.
So to further this discussion, we want to bring in Roland Boehm, who is chairman of the Georgia chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I think a lot of us are caught off guard by that video. The kids are just so genuine and so real and honest with their comments in this PSA. And Mr. Boehm, you know firsthand about young people contemplating suicide, correct?
I do, Shiva. My son Kyle was 20 years old when he was a student at Vanderbilt University, and he began experiencing suicidal thoughts. He reached out. The story ends extraordinarily well. We got him the necessary help. He is a hale and productive citizen, went back, got his degree, and is living here in the Atlanta area. So it's a scary process, but one that most, if not all, people who experience suicidal thoughts are able to get through with the appropriate support.
The teens in those PSAs are so brave to share their stories. How important are messages like that?
Jennifer, I think those messages are extraordinarily important because they come from people who are experiencing or have experienced suicide and suicidal thoughts. So rather than having someone come and tell you something from a position of a lack of knowledge, you have your peer groups who are talking to you, people who understand where you are, what you're experiencing, and what you need in order to respond to it. We think it's really a critical element to the overall package of suicide prevention to be able to have peer support, peer input in order to be able to address the challenge.
Mr. Boehm, it used to be a bit taboo to talk about suicide. I guess not anymore.
Chesley, it did, and among a number of people, it still is taboo. People find it difficult sometimes to speak to the issue, even though it is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And among our children, it's the second leading cause for those who are 10 to 24 years old. So these are important times, as Jennifer had indicated. These rates among our youth have increased over the last few years. Even looking back the last 10 years in Georgia, it's almost tripled the number of suicide deaths among our youth. So actions like this are what we need in order to be able to start driving that rate down.
Of course, of course. Roland Boehm, thank you for being here with us. We have many more questions for you, and I know that you'll be going with Jennifer Leslie here on Facebook to answer some of those questions. So if you have any other questions for Roland, be sure to join our Facebook page, 11 Alive, right there. One of my questions I'm hoping you can answer on Facebook is if you know someone who has tried to commit suicide, a teenager, a young child, what to do after that. Do you call them? Do you, and this is just friends, what do you do for that child to make sure that they're supported? So I know there's many questions out there, and if you know of anyone who needs help, you can call the Georgia Crisis and Access Line. The number is 1-800-715-4225 anytime, day or night. Again, thank you.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back.